Nerderotic.com.
Welcome back to Nerdrotic. My name is Gary Beekler, and I come to you from Nerdrotic.com, and we are here to cover Game of Thrones Season 2, Episode 8, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, a title so secret that they couldn't release it until after they released the episode. Man, I feel like the whole series is spoiled. Well, to spoil something, that would mean something would have had to happen. Now, a couple things did, but we are now 2 episodes into a 6-episode season that was delayed 2 years, and we had a bunch of people sitting around drinking. While it was entertaining, and it would have been a fine episode if this was a 10-episode season, but it wasn't. So we're here at the Battle of the Night King in episode 3, and it feels like we were just kind of kicking back and relaxing, wasting time, and wrapping things up way too quickly and inconsistently to get through this episode and to get to the Night King, who I'm afraid is not going to get explained in any way, shape, or form. They had a couple of times in this episode to really explain some really cool things, and it was just kind of, yeah, we dealt with it. Let's move on. And that's what Season 7 has been. That's what this show has been. And we have to be reminded that they have gotten away. And I know I'm not going to get over this. I have accepted the fact that I'm not going to get over this. That they have gotten away from the source material so much. And it is clear they heavily relied on George R.R. Martin, because one of the writers for this show was the person who sewed Deadpool's mouth shut. We cannot forget that, so Star Wars fans, don't get too excited. Now, there were things that worked for me in this episode and things that didn't. Just like episode 1, it was a mixed bag. It was entertaining. I will say, so far, season 8 is better than season 7, but we can't bury the lead on this one. The big news, the thing that blew up Twitter, Arya got naked. And I have to admit, with all the things that they have set up for Game of Thrones for over 7 seasons, the plans, the schemes, the betrayals, Arya getting naked was not the thing that I thought would be blowing up the internet. But you got me on that one, Dan and Dave. Didn't see that one coming. Now, I don't think the scene shouldn't exist. It is totally fine. She is an adult. She's 22. I'm just saying she's a 22-year-old who looks like a 16-year-old. But I want everybody to remember when we have all these questions after this season's over, and the excuse will be we just didn't have enough time. They didn't have enough time to put in characters like Victarion Greyjoy or Lady Stoneheart. Where's Quaithe? Where's Melisandre? We didn't have enough time to give Varys the Spider anything to do but give Tyrion advice. We didn't have enough time to give Littlefinger a decent send-off. But we had plenty of time for Arya side boob. One of the best examples of the disappointment I have with some of the rushed endings and inconsistencies is the opening scene with Jaime finally facing Daenerys with Sansa there, the man responsible partially for Ned Stark being beheaded and killing her father, and a chance for Jaime to tell everybody why he had to kill the Man King. Bran was there, could have backed him up, but I'm really not sure how many people know or believe what Bran can do because nobody's really explained it to everybody. Daenerys doesn't know. She mentions that later in the episode, but there he is. He has his chance. And what is his excuse? With the Stark family, we were at war. Well, you weren't, actually, because Tyrion Lannister had been taken by Catelyn Stark, but they weren't at war with the Lannisters at that point. Robert Baratheon was still alive, for one, and it was skirmishes, if anything, and poor Jory. Brain vouches for Jaime. Everything's cool. Jon says, we just need bodies, and he's got a point. We get some Gendry exposition, then Tyrion and Jaime are back together again. No harm, no foul. Jaime's not mad about Tyrion killing Tywin anymore, and Tyrion's not mad about Jaime being complicit in his wife getting gang raped by Lannister soldiers. No big deal, all good, let's have a drink. Another great disappointment is the reunion between Bran and Jaime, which they teased at the end of the last episode. I thought I was going to get an emotional payoff, and then I remembered we have Robot Bran, and Jaime apologizes. Bran says you weren't sorry at the time, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. He says he was protecting his family when he was just protecting his own ass. Actually, I would argue that it made things a lot worse for his family. And then when Jaime talks about what we do after this is all done, Bran says, how do you know there is anything after this is all done? And then they cut the scene. Please elaborate. We get a nice little Jaime Brienne scene and he offers to fight for her. We get a Gilly and Davos scene where a little girl wants to fight because her brothers died. and they end up sending her to guard the crypts. And this was brought up in my live streams that I do with Dictor Van Doomcock live after every episode. Please check us out. Is putting everybody down with all the dead people a really good idea with a necromancer on his way? Now, I know these are long dead people, but take a look at this guy from outside the cave in Season 4. We definitely have Harryhausen White Walkers running around. Tormund Giantsbane arrives with the Night's Watch, and we find out the Night King is a day away with the army of the dead. We get a war room scene where Bran, who says he's got a mark on him, decides that the Night King is coming for him, so they're going to use Bran as bait. Theon will protect him, and then I ask myself, where are all these northern lords that are so prickly about Daenerys? All we've seen is the she-bear. Where the hell is Wyman Manderly? Where the hell is Howland Reed? Now, I heard the next episode will be made in homage to the Two Towers, so maybe Howland Reed will be like the elves showing up at the 11th hour. We can only hope. But I'm certainly wondering, where are all these northern lords? Then we got teased again. I thought we were being set up for a scene that would actually explain some of the Night King, the White Walkers, something we didn't know because Bran has these visions and Tyrion sits down and wants to talk to him, wants to know the story of his journey. Bran, even Robot Bran says, hey, this is going to be a long story, and tries to get rid of Tyrion. Tyrion says, we have time, and they cut the scene. Again, please elaborate. What I haven't mentioned is this entire episode was talking about how brilliant Tyrion is, even though he's been a complete idiot the last few seasons, and I'll mention again, he is not in the books. He actually is a brilliant survivor. I don't know how much of a genius Tyrion really is, but he is a survivor, and there is a brilliance in that, but I don't know how well he's not been very good at all strategizing. He's been a mockery, and I would actually believe that he's working for Cersei at this time, and maybe this is that big betrayal. It certainly looks like we're walking towards Tyrion's death, and it looks like it's going to be a very bad one after making a bunch of bad decisions. Daenerys is mad at Tyrion, and we had Jorah defend Tyrion and Sansa defend Tyrion, and everybody thinks Tyrion is great, and now Daenerys doesn't want Tyrion to fight. She wants him to hide in the crypts with all the dead people with the necromancer on the way. And because it's 2019, we get a second Grey Worm and Missandei, the Northerners are racist scene in consecutive episodes, except this time it's kids. So they have a brief conversation about how they don't really want to live around all these white people, and we want to go on a vacation on the beach. And because it's 2019, we have a Daenerys and Sansa scene about the patriarchy and strong women. Then the rest of the episode, everybody sits around and drinks. We get another disappointing Arya and Hound scene. We see Beric, they sit around and drink. And we have a scene with Jaime, Tyrion, Brienne, Tormund, Davos, and Podrick sitting around and drinking. Podrick sings, and whether it was a cheap emotional scene or not, I still love the Brienne getting knighted scene. I thought that was very cool. And then, of course, we had Gendry having sex with Arya, and the aforementioned Arya side boob. The two scenes that really worked for me were Theon and Sansa. I love these scenes because they both have the shared horror of being victims of Ramsay, and honestly, after I lost my Johnson, I could use a hug too. And then there was a short little scene while Pod was singing of Sansa and Theon together, and again, that worked for me. We are nowhere near the redemption story in the books that Theon is supposedly going through, and right now he's still in the midst of horror, but I'm assuming we will get some kind of redemption for Theon. That was well done. We had Samwell Tarly giving Heartsbane to Jorah. That was very cool. But there's a couple of things that I gotta mention that definitely Preston Jacobs, who I have to give full credit for bringing this up. First, when Tyrion is sitting around drinking, he mentions everybody there had fought the Starks, and that's not entirely true. Now, Brienne did fight some Starks when she had Jaime prisoner, but I'm trying to remember when Davos fought some Starks. Now, he was on Stannis' side when Melisandre did the blood magic on Gendry, but I really can't think of any other time where they fought the Starks. And also, little baby Sam should be old enough to be fighting some White Walkers right now. Now, Jon all episode has been giving Dany the cold shoulder, and she finds him in the crypts looking at Lyanna Stark. And this is where he drops on her that he is indeed Aegon Targaryen, son of Rhaegar and Lyanna. And another major inconsistency is Dany thought Rhaegar had raped Lyanna, which is completely inconsistent because she gets all of her information from Viserys and Ser Barristan, two people who loved Rhaegar, two people who would never put Rhaegar in a bad light. That was Robert Baratheon's story. That was the story that he was told and he heard. So her first reaction is Jon wants to make a claim on the throne, and then we hear the war horn. The dead have arrived. We get some pretty good setup. Everybody's getting ready. Jorah's looking badass on a horse. We got some trebuchets, and the dead have arrived, and that is the end of the episode. Now, I am really looking forward to next episode, despite some of the problems I've had with Season 7 and some of the problems I've had with Season 8. Overall, Season 8 is better than Season 7. Yes, I really didn't like it that much, but I'm really looking forward to this battle. It's supposed to be feature length, and I cannot wait, and it can make everything right. Honestly, that's how I felt about Season 5. I was kind of having a problem with Season 5 until I saw Hardhome, which was a brilliant episode. So a good slow lead up. If it has a payoff, then I will come around and say, hey, this stuff was worth it, especially if we get some old-fashioned Game of Thrones twists and turns. Now, I don't know if we can get that from Dan and Dave. I will remind you, one of these guys is the guy who sewed Deadpool's mouth shut. Well, that's it for now. I will see you 15 minutes after the episode airs next Sunday with Dictor Van Doomcock for the Game of Thrones live stream. And then later on in the week, I will do a breakdown video for those of you who do not want to sit through the live streams. Everybody, have a great day. Please like, share, and subscribe. And may the small folks sing songs of your greatness.
Nerderotic.com. Please subscribe.